G'day viewers, welcome back to the channel. This time, you guessed it, more wood removal. But this time, I've got a few new tools. We're going to try a few different things. Stick around. If this is your first time here, welcome to the channel. I hope I can teach you something. You like what you see and consider subscribing. Now, at the moment, my bench is absolutely covered in tools and I have a little problem. As I mentioned, bench is, well, non-existent at the moment. Can't even see it. Basically because I've been jumping from one thing to another but as I mentioned, I have a little problem. This is the guard for my drill press, and it also is the locator for the depth gauge, but as you can probably see, it's broken. So I can either glue that back in place and it'll last about 2 minutes, or I can just do away with the guard because, well, you've probably noticed anytime I'm using a drill it's usually up anyway. So I need to build a new depth gauge. So I started with a piece of this tube that I've cut off from the pillar of the fixture that I made to drill out the center of the log. So I took that, cut a slice off, sliced it, opened it up a bit, welded 2 little tabs to it. That's the base for my depth gauge. But now I have to make a plate that goes on here so we can put the gauge down through here. That's what I've started doing here. Got it all marked out, ready to drill. Unfortunately, the diameter of this is 46 millimeters. Now I have a 40 mil hole saw and a 50 mil. Nothing in between. So back and forth, back and forth. Do I drill a 40 mil hole and then grind the edges, or do I drill a 50 and have to grind out the middle? I've decided to drill a 40 and grind out the edges because that's going to be easier. Then need to, well, cut that off and then weld it onto this collar. So let's get into that. Well, that's cut out and hopefully you can see it's on the line there, but it comes out here. So I've just got to take a little bit just off each edge. But before I do that, I'm actually going to cut it out just across those 2 marks there, just so I'm working with just this little piece over here. Alright, I've cut that out and I just sort of tickled it around with the grinder until I got it to fit pretty nice. It's going to fit well. And then I also took my center punch, dropped it down here and made sure that in the center it lines up with that. I had to move it, but that's pretty much centered in that hole. Now I can weld these 2 together, drill out that hole. And there we go. Nice and simple. And yes, it's pretty much dead upright. So that will do. And it's fastened down. I've just got this in here temporary. I don't know whether I'm going to leave that or go with something different or go with a different mechanism altogether, but that's going to do for now. Now we need to set it up on that again. But before I do that, let me just show you what I've done since you last saw this. Using a 32mm hole saw, I, just below this line that I cut last time, went in on an angle and, as you can see, just broke away all that area just to get rid of some of the bulk up around here. You notice here I haven't, because that's where the screw is going to be to hold down the bottom. There's 4 of those around the perimeter, and after I broke all that away I then went straight down to there, and we're going to try something and see if we can break all this away. Otherwise, well, we're going to have to cut all these away and keep doing that all the way down. I've also drilled down the base as far out as I could, another 25 millimeters, and cut all the webbing away. And that's what I mean by now we need to set up and figure out the depth to the absolute depth that we can go with the drill on the inside. Once we've done that, well, it's just a matter of moving out and cleaning up all the edges. And for anyone who's wondering why I went from the 32mm spade bit down to the 25, does that answer your question? I'm still going to try and use that, but, well, we'll see how we go. And with everything set up on the outside, we come down here, and because that's 20mm, I know I can't go any further than that, so we need to go down to no more than about there. Run these nuts down just a little bit more than they should be. That way. There we go. Let's go a little bit more. That gives me about 25mm down the bottom. Now I need to lock those two together, and then we can, well, we can do some more drilling, but I don't know when I'm going to do that right now. And this is the latest member of our family. This is Broly. Hey, come on. Yeah, oh, look at you. About 4 months old, and this is the second pretty much time he's been outside, and yeah, he's loving it. Funnily enough, the noise of that and that making a lot of noise doesn't even bother him. Now you're going to roll in the sawdust. Good on you. Hey, doesn't bother you? No? Okay. That's weird, but okay. Well, this is a first for the channel. Product reviews. Recently bought these two items. Just picked them up off of eBay. I think they were about $13 each. I'm going to use them and see how they go. Spoiler alert, I've already done some with these, but I thought I'm going to film this just to give, well, you guys the idea of what each one can and does do. The first one, I'll start with this one. You notice on this the bore is much bigger than this one, but it comes with a spacer ring. And you've probably seen these in the shops, usually selling for somewhere in the realm of $50 to $100. And they're supposed to take off large amounts of material. You can see these chunky blades here, and it does spin that way. So this is the leading edge of the tooth. This is the trailing edge. If this was the trailing edge, it'd always want to be digging down, whereas this pushes up. So you pushing down on it helps it. And the other one, it's like this rasp teeth on it. Yeah, see them? Hundreds of little rasp teeth. And that, obviously, is what does the work. The first thing you notice, this one, well, it's flat, so it's only good for a flat surface. Yeah, you can get into bends, but like doing a radius, no, forget it. Whereas this, well, it's cup shaped, so it's preformed to cut a radius. So these both run on your ordinary 100mm angle grinder. So I'm going to give these each of these a go. I'm going to run them both for about the same time, probably only about 10 seconds. See what each one does. Let's load them up and have a look. Alright, so we've got a bit of high spot over here, and that's where I'm going to be hitting. First warning, I will be running a vacuum because this thing throws sawdust all over the place, which brings me into the second warning. Wear a face shield. You can wear a mask and glasses, safety glasses, but you still do get a bit up inside. I have this right here, so I'm going to use this. Yes, I have masks and glasses as well, but this is right here. Don't go out there with nothing because it throws a lot of... Well, it's not sawdust, but it's not chunks. It's kind of halfway between. It's just thick sawdust. Right. Test number 1, the flat high removal disc. Let's see how this goes. That didn't seem to do much at all. Let's try the other one, see what that does. Number 2, rasp disc. Well, that seemed to do a lot more. Removed a hell of a lot more material in about the same amount of time. So as far as removal rate goes, well, this is the better one. And also, I can get it down the bottom and create a radius down the bottom. So I haven't got a square edge there, which is what I want. And let's see if I can get you down in there. So have a look, you can see I've already hit it with that rasp disc, and I mean it's not 100% tidy, but it's a rounded edge. It's not a square edge. That's pretty much what I was going for. Obviously still needs a little bit more tidy up, but you get the general idea. So the verdict. Get through a number of different aspects. Value for money, well, as I said, I think pretty much they were both around $13. So they're both pretty cheap. But as for what does the best job for that price, well, it's the rasp disc, hands down. Ease of use. This one's much easier to use. There's no, you probably noticed. This one kind of kicked me around a bit. This one, well, just didn't. The flip side of that is, well, it didn't do much work either. So, knowing what I know now, if I had to buy one of these, well, which one do you think I'm going to pick? Now, I will leave a link to both items in the description, just in case anyone wants to get hold of these. I'm not getting any endorsement or anything out of this. This one's actually getting a bad review because, well, it doesn't do anything really. I suppose on a softer material it might, but that's the whole point. It's hard material. It has to be cut away. So, yeah, this is going to do a better job. Well, as you probably saw, well, we're down to depth. As I said, I've got to do a bit of sanding on the bottom. Because that's not exactly flat. So let's try something. Now I showed you this sanding disc earlier that goes on a 4-inch grinder. The problem with that is because of the way this sits on the grinder, well, once it's on there, well, I can't get it down there to do anything. I can't even get it in the hole. I'm on a really tight angle, and I don't want to hit it with that because, again, I'm not going to be able to get right in the middle. So I thought, well, let's see how that goes on a drill. Problem is, how do I attach that to a drill? Give me a minute, I'll go cut that head off and we'll put this together. Alright, that's done. Just sort of rounded it off a little bit, make it easier. But here's a welcome to Australia moment. That's an M10 thread. So you would think that nut, apart from being an M10 thread internally, the external would be a metric size, right? The only spanner that fits it is a 5/8. Really? Okay, anywho, let's load this up, put it all together, see what we can do with it. Well, here's a strange thing. Yes, it's working, but it's not quite brutal enough. So, give me a minute. Let's try this. Well, that worked. It doesn't need to be absolutely perfectly smooth because, well, it's the inside and the slot's going to be across there. It doesn't matter if it's not perfectly flat. But now the next move, you need to make it wider. We need to remove all this material in here. And we're going to do that using this. As you can see, this is an air chisel. I should have had one of these years ago, but I just never got around to buying one. But basically, well, it takes the place of a hammer. Some people actually call these air hammers. Technically, it's a chisel. You can get hammer heads attachments for it, but technically, it's an air chisel. Which comes with, fortunately, an accessory pack. I can find the opening. There it is. Comes with an air fitting, which we won't be using because I don't use that style fitting. It comes with a retainer spring. I'll show you how that works in a minute. It comes with 1, 2, 3, 4 chisels. As you can see, they're all different. This one's your main actual chisel. As you can see, that's a point. And this one is for the likes of spot welds, to break spot welds. And I don't know, that's something similar. But look at that, look at the shape of that. And look at the shape of that. You see the problem? A metal chisel, or a chisel for use with metal, usually is almost like a screwdriver, but then you have even grinds on each side so that the point is right in the middle. Whereas a wood chisel, you only grind one edge, which is this edge here, which is ground back at an angle to the rear face of the chisel. That's because when you use it like that, you can use it like that and it'll cut flat. Like that. You use it like that, it'll cut flat. If I try to use this on a piece of wood, well, it's just going to go wherever it wants to. The only way to split exactly where I want it is to get it dead upright, and that can't happen because I don't have the room. So the first thing we're going to do, we're going to regrind this chisel to match that. There we go. Looks more like it. Flat on the back, angle on the front. Now that way we can use it down like that, and it's going to cut where we need it to cut. Alright, let's get this set up and start doing stuff. First thing, this, well, that screws on there. Because it's a spring, it's tight, so pushing this, no, that doesn't help, that just makes it tighter. That's for removing it. To get it on, grab the top, twist it, and it'll go down nice and easy. This, by the way, yes, it's in a Zito, but this, I think it was about $16. Okay, remove that cap. That's where our air fitting goes. Now here's the tip of the week. Wow, there hasn't been one of these for a while. When you're fitting a new air fitting, it's always good practice to use thread tape. Some people call it Teflon tape, some people call it plumber's tape, because it's mainly used in plumbing. Now, if you think about it, air fittings are plumbing because it's transferring, well, not fluid, but compressed air. So it still needs that airtight seal on all the components. Now, when winding the tape on, you have to make sure you do it the right way, otherwise, well, it's just going to unwind on you. The easiest way I remember, hold that in your right hand, and I'm left-handed. Hold the fitting in your right hand, the tape over the top, and just wind it clockwise. Hold that down until you get at least once around. You only need to go around twice, 3 times if it's a bad fitting, but that'll do. Tear that off, and then when you screw it in, the tape's not going to unwind off itself. Wow, that's a loose fitting. But we'll plug it in and see if we have an air gap, an air leak. Yep, that's fine. That's because this is not right. I need to pull this apart and rebuild it and reseal it. They do wear. They are wear items. And then the chisel, put it in, and the spring, push it out of the way, and it'll lock it in place. It can't come out. Let's clear all this stuff away and start chiseling and see what damage we can do. Now, with the tapered edge facing in, let's give it a hit, see what it does. as you can see, it clearly works. It's a long process, but it's not as difficult as hitting it, you know, swinging your arm for an hour and a half trying to knock it out. It's quite simple to use. Just got to remember to take small chunks. But I'm going to let the compressor cool down for a while because it's been running that whole time. Because it's only a wee little compressor. So I'll let the compressor cool down, clear all this stuff out, and I'll keep going off camera, bring you back when something interesting happens. That's about as far as I need to go. Going all the way around, walking all the way around here. Now, well, and that's after removing yet another half a bucket of material. But now, I just go in and clean all that up because, yeah, it's still kind of rough and splintery. So now I'm just going to go over with that, remove a bit more material, finish sanding. The inside's done. Finally! That's the inside finished as much as it's going to be. It doesn't, as I said, it doesn't need to be absolutely perfect because no one's going to see that. Still a bit crunchy down here, but I'll try to get into that, but I'm not really worried about it. But I can run my hand around anywhere inside and there's no splinters. That's the main part. Now, just need to do everything else. But you're going to have to wait till next time for that. You know that old adage, it takes 20% of the time to do 80% of the work and 80% of the time to do the remaining 20% of the work? In this case, not so much. 80% of the time is gone, but it appears only 20% of the work has been done. It's a lot of work, but it doesn't appear to be a lot. A lot more is going to happen in a very short space of time now because the rest of the stuff is minimal. Easy stuff. But anyway, thanks for watching. I hope you learnt something. I hope you like what you saw. If you did, hit that like button, that thumbs up button just down there. And while you're down there, hit that subscribe button and the notification bell. That way you know when the next one's coming. Leave me a comment share on social media. I can use all the exposure I can get. And I'll see you on the next one.